Man here with Robert. I'm going to say his name wrong. Caprino.
You did say that wrong, but I'll accept that.
It's not Caprino.
Close.
Camp. You know what? I don't know.
Campanaro.
It's funnier the way. Anyway, so he's when he grows older, he's going to play that guy that says he doesn't usually drink, but when he does something amazing. But right now, he's not that guy. So we talked about a year ago, and Robert came to my attention because he was on Aaron Raw, and so he became semi-famous, and everybody knew about him, and everybody harassed him, and he survived somehow.
I would say infamous.
Yeah, and then he also survived my onslaught somehow.
Right,
and he's back for more beating.
Yes,
I don't know why.
Glutton for punishment.
He is the lamb coming into this lion's den, but I'm no lion. I'm telling the truth. Whatever. I don't know, but yeah, we had a wonderful talk last time, and so Robert, what have you been doing since then? You have learned some things, maybe not the things I wanted you to learn, but you've been quite busy, so let us know what you've been up to.
Well, pretty much I learned more of the basis or the foundations of what I believe, more of the epistemological side of it, or the the epistemological side. I learned more about worldviews, presuppositions, why people think the way they think, why it is that, you and I are going to have a good conversation, two intelligent people, and yet we are not going to resolve this issue. And I learned the reasons why. It's because, we have two different worldviews. So we're going to look at the same data, and we're going to interpret it according to our worldview. And if something doesn't make sense, if there's something about the data that doesn't jive with our worldview, then what we're going to do is we're going to reach for some sort of rescuing device so that we can rescue our worldview. And that's the reason why, as I said, two intelligent people can have an intelligent conversation, look at the same data, and come to two entirely different conclusions. And that's why it's upon the listener to decide who really presented the case. Because
absolutely,
I'm not changing your mind, and you're not changing my mind.
Well, I mean, hypothetically, in an ideal world, if we were only sticking with the system of logic, whoever had the valid and sound argument would change the other person's view.
If we're doing logic, I do, I love doing logic, but even there, there you could say, well, even there you have to have some sort of presupposition or whatever, so you could still argue there and say, well, but this isn't really a fallacy because of blah blah blah, no, and then you're stuck debating that. But right,
so even in an idealized world that I came up with in my brain, I found a flaw in it, so it doesn't matter, we're screwed no matter what. Only the argument matters, whatever it is. And I don't know, we're not going to be debating per se. We're just going to, talk about some things, ask each other pesky questions, whatever. And if you do that clicky noise, I'm going to throw you onto your desk and eat you. Yeah. Stop it. All right. I told you not to do that.
That's my rescuing device.
That's your rescuing device, right? That or hitting the desk.
Right.
Or having a microphone with rubber bands on it.
Yes.
So things that the audience does not understand because they don't need to. Okay. So we exchanged emails. You're like, hey, it's me from way back when. I was like, who? Oh, okay, yeah. And so you had a number of things I wanted to address here to kind of narrow our focus on some things. So the number one thing was unanswered questions.
Yeah.
So your posit was, in essence, that there are unanswered questions, and I agree.
On either side. Yeah,
on either, yeah. It doesn't matter what you do. It seems like there will always be these unanswered questions. Now,
right.
So I wanted to talk to you about that. Let's go off from there. It's like, okay, well, I view it. I'll start with how I view it. I view it, these mysteries, as interesting and wonderful, and I'm satisfied that there's a mystery, and also kind of have to teach myself and accept that I might not never, or humanity might never know the answer to this question, and that's okay. And that's just how I view it. So how do you view these unanswered questions?
Well, see, the thing I would argue is a lot of the questions that, from an atheist perspective, the atheist is resigned to saying, I don't know. I don't know, and we're never going to know, because you can't know. And from a theistic perspective, what I say is, wait a minute, of course you can know. All you need to do is include God in your worldview, and now you have your answer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I wouldn't say we would never know. I wouldn't make that statement, because I can't know that we will never know. Let's I can only know we don't know now. I would not, if I did make it, it would be accidental, but I personally would try to avoid saying we will never know, because that would require knowledge that I don't think, that I have, it's like,
I would say, okay, well, let's, for instance, let me give you for instance, the belief that our sensory perceptions are reliable. Okay. You can't reason, you can't do induction without the belief that, what you perceive yourself doing, you understand what's going on. So we all have the presupposition that our sensory perceptions are generally reliable. Now, how can we justify that?
Right.
We can't, right?
Can't. Not really.
Unless you say you are a human being created in the image of God, and so you reason the way God reasons. So God has given you the capacity to reason, and that's why you can trust your sensory perceptions. So from a theistic perspective, I have an answer, but for the atheist, he has to say, we just don't know.
No,
we have to accept that as a brute fact. And
you could say, and I don't know that it's useful to say theist perspective, because there's another way to look at it, in that biological evolution is a thing that happened, and given that, we've adapted to be able to survive, and survival requires us to be able to observe and interact with the external world that's out there. And it's like, well, but how do you know there's an external world out there? Because if you don't survive. So, you can pretend that there isn't one, and that will work long enough for you to get killed by it, probably, So in that sense, you have a naturalistic framework that it doesn't matter which side, quote unquote, is true. It's still true no matter which way it bears out, because like, this is what we found out to be true. And so you can say, well, how do you know that? You can always say, how do you know that's the case, and keep moving it back to that, how you can never say the word right.
Solipsism?
Solipsism, thank you.
I thought that's the word you were grabbing.
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
Solipsism.
Especially when you just got up 2 hours ago.
Yeah, which I did. So, and it's like, well, okay, it's interesting that we've found that this is a thing that we can't resolve this. There's no way to fix that. So unless
you accept the existence of
God.
God.
No, that doesn't fix it either.
Sure it does.
Nope.
It explains it.
No.
Sure does.
No. I mean, we could go into why. But I understand that, this is one way you think. Like, some people think, well, that solves it, because God's allowing you to know that your senses can be trusted, but your senses can't be trusted. So
what I'm saying is, there's no reason to think our senses can be trusted unless we have some reason for that belief. And atheism, what I'm saying, naturalism doesn't provide that basis, whereas theism would.
No, well, it still doesn't though, because your eyesight or hearing or any of your senses will fail eventually, and
Well, yeah, that's a result of the fall, right?
well, it doesn't matter what it's a result of. It's still there. You still have to contend with it. So even positing a god doesn't rescue you from the fact that you can't always trust your senses at least to 100% or whatever. Not that I want to give percentages on it, but to some extent.
Yeah, well, if I can get 10%, I'll take it.
Yeah, well, same thing. I mean, I've got 10% at least from the natural way things appear to be, whether there's a god or not. So I don't see this as a binary. Well, it's the atheist versus. There isn't really an atheist side, but at any rate, kind of veered off from the unanswered question. But nevertheless, you say, okay, well, we have this unanswered question of how do I resolve solipsism. That's how I'm going to say it. I don't care how it's said anymore. And you say, well, you're never going to have the answer to that. And I say, well, that I don't know, but it seems to be the case that at least now I don't have the answer for it. And then I just kind of ignore it and go, well, okay, moving on. What's the next thing? Because I can't do anything about this. So I might as well kind of ignore it. I know it's there, but it's not useful because otherwise I'm just stuck there and I can't move forward. So I have to just go, okay, well, that's the thing. Moving on. Reality, how I say it is reality is real. Let's move on. It's like, okay, so we're just going to say that reality is real, whether or not that's meaningful to say, because otherwise I can't move on. But at any rate, so from what I hear you saying is I have this unresolved question, and that might be the case, and you have a potential answer. So okay, but there's always unanswered questions no matter what we do. So I guess my question about that is like, well, why does that matter to you? Because for me, I'm like, yeah, okay, so. Like this is cool. There's all these questions, and all right, it's fine with me. It doesn't bother me. So
because why does it matter to me?
Yeah.
Well, because knowledge is not only the belief about something, but it has to be that belief has to be justified. Okay, knowledge is justified true belief. For instance, if I said, I just know it's going to be sunny tomorrow because, we're having our picnic and so I just know it's going to be sunny. Well, I don't know unless I've checked the weather report. So I have a belief that it's going to be sunny tomorrow, but I don't know that. Now, when I check the weather report and I verify that indeed it will be sunny tomorrow, now I have a justified belief. And so now it qualifies as being knowledge. And so that's the reason why it's important to me, because it separates belief from actual knowledge.
So, but we still have to contend with that there will be some question that for whatever reason we don't know the answer to. Maybe we just don't have the knowledge, or maybe we're too lazy to learn it, or whatever. We think, I'm pretty old, what's the point of learning this new thing? I'm just gonna die any moment now, so I might as well just hang to what I already. I don't need to learn anything new. I don't think that. I think it's great to keep learning until I can't. That's right. How I view it. Yeah. And so
until you're my age, and then you got to watch how much stuff you're trying to fit into your brain anymore.
But see,
you got to start moving stuff out so you can move new stuff in.
Well, I don't know, but yeah, I mean that's the kind of thing where it's like, that are you saying or that we should try to find the thing that gives us the most amount of answers to questions and then go with that?
I would say that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I to understand your view on things, is just what I'm trying to do. Because I have,
or if I can qualify that, or maybe one worldview answers most of the questions. It's just that those are very trivial questions, whereas the other worldview only answers a few questions, but they're the main questions, and so you would have to balance it out there. But.
Yeah, and then you'd have to figure out which questions are the main questions.
Well, yeah.
So
right.
Yeah, because I was going to ask, well, just because a particular thing gives you all these different answers, that doesn't mean that those answers are even close to being true. It's like, well, why is this? Because, whatever. And it's like, okay, it's not.
Right. And so, like, right. So that's why everyone has certain presuppositions, and they're going to have presuppositions. And people say, I have no presuppositions. I look at everything objectively. And that's why I've come to. No, bull.
Yeah.
No, you haven't. Okay.
Wow.
Everybody has presuppositions. And those are the things that make up our worldview. And it's our worldview that we utilize to examine the same exact data and come to the opposite conclusion that the other guy's coming to.
Right.
Because we have presuppositions.
Now, okay, so and so here we have this unanswered questions, and I think we've covered that well enough. I would think. So let's move on to the second one, because we could spend hours on that, I'm sure, because
we've already resolved that.
Yeah, we've already resolved that there's unanswered questions. Moving on. Okay, we fixed all that.
Right.
So number 2 that I wanted to focus on, this is, and again, you said many things, but these are the things I wanted to focus on, just to clarify that for those just joining us or that have forgotten or whatever. So the other thing you said is that faith is required, and then you extended that to say that there's this hope that questions will be answered. So by faith in this context, I'm assuming that you mean faith equals question will be answered, because faith can mean a number of things. So within this particular framework, you're saying there will always be this need or this hope, this desire that questions will have an answer. Is that how you want to put that, or can you put that a different way?
Yeah,
or
what I'm saying is, okay, whichever worldview you adopt, you're going to have certain unanswered questions. I, as a Christian, have certain unanswered questions, and I have to admit that a lot of them will never be answered. And so I have faith that one day those answers will be forthcoming, probably, when I die or something like that. Whereas the atheist, they will have certain unanswered questions, and they just have to have faith that those questions, they just have to believe that one day those questions will have answers. For instance, like we were talking about last year, where does the information in DNA come from? Well, as a theist, okay, I have my answer to that question. But as an atheist, okay, there is no answer. But the atheist does believe, and that's the word believe and the word faith in the Greek language, which the New Testament was written in, are really the same word. The atheist believes or has faith that that question will be answered one day.
Okay, well,
so everybody has faith, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, let me. I want to make. Yeah. Go ahead.
And that is, I would have unless the atheist or the naturalist can provide a reason for believing that someday that question will be answered, then I would say they no longer have faith at that point. It's presumption. Okay, they have no reason to believe that science will ever discover where that information came from, but yet they believe it anyway. Whereas I, as a Christian, at least, now you can argue with my basis for why I believe what I believe. You can argue whether, I have a strong foundation for my belief, but the point is, everything that I do believe, I do at least have some kind of foundation for it. And so that's why I would say what I have as a Christian is belief. And there are certain things that, as a naturalist, you don't have faith. You really have presumption. Just the presumption that science will figure this out without any basis for thinking that.
Okay. Well, let me just make sure I have this nailed down. so that, you know, I can just rephrase this in a smaller way. So you said of me, since I'm an atheist, I'm a skeptic, whatever my title, you know, my label, if you will, you know, a skeptic, then atheist, whatever. It doesn't, you know, I mean, whatever. But that, are you telling me I require faith, need an answer, believe an answer will be answered, and that I have a presumption that the answer will come about at some day?
Well, I don't know. If all I can say is, if you do believe that an answer, a scientific naturalistic explanation for, you know, for instance, the information in DNA, if you believe that science will one day find a naturalistic explanation for it, then yes, you have faith at that point. But okay. I would say at this point, still, it's not really faith. It would be presumption, because I don't see any reason for thinking that science is ever going to find a naturalistic explanation.
But that, to go back to, you know, what you actually said, and the reason why I want to unpack this with you is I want to point out what is a logical fallacy, and maybe that's not deliberate on your side, of course, but
of course
well,
I try to be as illogical as I can.
Yeah, I don't, you know, well, look, I'm not gonna, you know, that to say you theist, atheist, Democrat, Republican, whatever, group X has to do this. You have to believe X, Y, and Z. Well, I don't know that. There's no way I can know that. I do not know and cannot read your mind. And I call this fallacy mind reading or special knowledge, because nobody that I know of, and if somebody thinks that they can read minds, then there's a test we could do about that. But we can't read minds. So rather than say, if you're an atheist, you have this belief, or you have to have faith, you need an answer, you believe an answer will be answered, and you have this presupposition, rather than saying it that way, because that assumes all these things about the other person that you can't know to be true. Rather than say it that way, you could say it in a different way. You could say, well, I believe I have things that will resolve this question, and I'm not sure if you do, and leave it at that. Don't assert that you know your opponent's position. Do you think that's more fair?
All except for, I mean, okay, maybe I'm just making an assumption here.
Mm-hmm.
But
because you're assuming that I require, or that any given atheist, and they might, but we don't know, that they require this, that they have this need that this question will be answered, so therefore they require faith, because therefore, right, you know, they're hoping, right, and maybe they do, maybe they don't, but we don't. So why don't we just leave it open for them to tell us?
Okay, that's fair. That's
okay.
Fair. That's totally
all right. Okay, so now to go back, so say, okay, so then 2 would become, if you will, rather than saying that faith is required, you could say, I require faith for these answers. I don't know that you do. So let me know. So maybe it shouldn't be faith is required. Maybe it should be sometimes faith is required. Or it seems that faith is required.
Well, anyone who has questions for which they have no answers, but they believe that one day there will be answers,
okay,
would have faith.
If you believe, so you could,
or presumption, depending upon how much evidence there is that an answer will ever be forthcoming.
Yeah. So if you have a belief, then you require faith. That's another way to put it.
Yeah. Well, belief and faith, biblically, yeah, I can talk. Biblically speaking, are the same thing.
Right. Well, but I'm just saying, instead of saying faith is required, we could simply say that if you have you know, we can put it a very different way, rather than just asserting well, faith is required for both sides. We don't know that. I know that I can honestly say faith is required for my side. And I'll be honest with that, and I'm fine with that. I'm down with that. I'm cool with that, right? But I'm not going to say that about my opponent's side because I don't know what their side is yet.
Sure.
Now, and I'm not gonna do the thing that I'm accusing them of. I'm not going to assume that I know what it, and even if I think I know about naturalism, I don't know about any given individual's view of it. So rather than brute force saying, well, faith is required, I change that to be more fair to myself and to others, so that I say, I have faith. Do you have faith? Or something like that. And I just see that would allow you to have more open discussions, because now I'm not coming in telling you, look, you nitwit, you're telling me what I believe, and I don't like that. I might call you a nitwit. I wouldn't, but at least I'm not doing it for that reason.
Worse before, Dan. So
I've come up with look. We're not, that was last time. That's off the record. But you know what I'm saying? That it's more fair, and so I think that would it be fair that you might rethink this particular phrasing in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to broad brush all atheists, because the fact is, there's most atheists probably don't even care.
I don't. Well, I mean, you have your example right here. I don't. It's not that I don't care. It's just I'm fine with not having an answer. Now, I don't know. Maybe there will be an answer. Maybe there won't be. I don't know. And I'd love to know, but I don't, and I'm happy with that, and I'm okay with that. Yeah, and I'm not gonna, So
what I'm saying is, anyone who even bothers themselves with the question, I would say those are the people who have to have faith, or presumption, if there's no evidence that.
Again, I would say we can't really say that either, because it's just because I'm asking a question, that doesn't mean that means I don't know anything about the thing. It's like, well, what is 20 to the power of 5? I don't know, right off the top of my head, because I'm bad at math. Somebody somewhere probably knows off the top of it, but it's not me. Google might know. I don't know. Google says it, that settles it. Okay. I had to work that joke in there somewhere. But it doesn't. I don't presume even that I'm not necessarily. Maybe I am, but maybe I'm not presuming that the question even has an answer, or that it's even a logical question. Because yes, questions contain premises in them, and you're right, they do. But typically, I would say, and I got to be careful here, because I don't know that I could back this up, but I would dare to say that that's not. I don't think that that's how we normally ask questions. Like, we don't. Well, it depends on the person, I guess. Yeah, I'll let that one go. But at any rate, I don't think it's fair to say, well, just because you asked this question, then you're assuming this, and this, and already you're going into the same fallacy of mind reading special knowledge. You don't.
Okay. Here's what I'll say. All right, I'll just speak for myself.
Okay.
As a theist, and as a Christian theist, I have certain questions that don't have answers.
Okay.
But I believe that one day those answers will be forthcoming.
There you go.
Whether when I die or the resurrection or whatever.
Yeah. And I agree.
And so what I'm saying also is, if I were to convert to atheism, now I would have a bunch of new questions.
Yes.
That don't have answers. And I would have to have me, I'm not speaking for all atheists, but I know for myself, I would have to have faith that these answers will one day be forthcoming. Although, what I'm saying, perspective, is that my faith would no longer be the type of faith that I have as a Christian, because at least as a Christian, I'm grounding my belief in something. And again, we can argue over how firm a foundation that I have for my beliefs, but at least I have something that I'm grounding them in. Whereas if I become an atheist, I'm going to have all these questions that I'm going to have to believe will be answered someday without one bit of evidence or reason to think that they ever will be answered. So I'm going from having faith to having presumption. And so I would rather have faith because I just don't see presumption as particularly helpful.
Yeah. Well, I think I want to move to the next one, but there is some, I mean, there's so, oh man, maybe I'll loop. We'll go to the next one and then we'll loop back if that's okay. Yeah. So
you're driving, Dan. So
look, Jesus take the wheel. Well, look, I don't know what will happen if I let Jesus take the wheel on my stream. Go ahead. Nothing. Damn. He doesn't want to hang out with me. Ever since I made that joke about, I made that one joke. Jesus just doesn't like me anymore. I said, how do you hang around with Jesus? It only takes a couple nails, He didn't like that. He was like, that's not right.
Yeah,
that's
that probably
wrong.
didn't go over too well.
Ooh, he was like, he got off the cross and punched me in the gut and kicked me in the balls, and then he forgave me and got back on the cross and died. And I was like, yeah, you do that. See you in 2 to 3 days. And then, he came back and did it again. And then he ascended into heaven. Yeah. And I couldn't get any revenge. Ever since I've been mad. So that's what
I would say if you asked him with a more serious mind.
You might get an answer. Well, yeah. Okay, so all right. Anyways, I'm glad you have. Look, if God exists, he has a great sense of humor because he put the amusement park next to the sewage place. So
there you go.
He's got to. He's like, ha, that's funny. They have to poop where they also enjoy themselves. Yeah. Anyways, so why you? So sorry. A little bit of liberty, All right, you can make fun of, atheist comes to the door. What do they say? Nothing. I don't know. There's a few good atheist jokes out there. I don't know. Anyways, why change? Why change what I currently believe now, given the above? So the above, of course, being the unanswered questions, and that your statement that you view it in this way, that you think that if you changed, then you'd have new things that you have to believe. So why change, given that?
Can you restate the question?
Yeah, you had said the third thing was, why change what I currently believe now, given that there's unanswered questions and that faith will be required to answer these questions one way or the other, at least from your viewpoint, as you've already espoused upon. Is that the right word? Espoused? I don't know. Whatever. Yeah. I don't know if that's the right way to say it. Expounded upon. Either way, espoused, suspended. Somebody will tell me I'm wrong. That's fine. Sophilism. There.
There you go.
Head F12. I don't know.
That's always a good standby.
Yeah. So why change what you believe now is what you had asked in that email, and so I wanted to explore that question. So do you want to rephrase that or clarify what you mean?
Yeah, I would say, why change my worldview when in either case I'm going to have unanswered questions.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I just want to reiterate for the benefit of the listeners, what I'm saying is, and I want to make sure I'm clear about this.
Absolutely.
Is that as a Christian, I have a foundation upon which I can say, all right, I don't have answers to these questions, but I believe that one day I will. Whereas I'm convinced that if I were to change my worldview and become an atheist, then I would have to say, all right, I have questions. And you know what? I don't have any reason to think that those questions will ever be answered, because I've only got a finite amount of time on this earth. And then, as an atheist, I believe I'm going to go out of existence unless you watched Aaron Rock about a week ago, who seems to have taken an entirely 180 degree turn. He seems to believe that consciousness pre-exists everything. That consciousness has nothing to do with the brain.
Well,
and I was like, man, I tried. When I was on his program, I argued that, and I got, man, he threw the kitchen sink at me.
Yeah, he needs to make a whole video about what he means. I think I know what he's referring to, but I can't speak for him. So I think he should make a whole video about that. Whether or not, well. we can tell him in the comments, hey, make a video about that, but who are we? He's not going to listen to. maybe you could email him, hey, you should make, or maybe I would.
He won't talk to me anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe
I tried to get a third spot, and he just
he did you twice. That's enough. He's look. I mean, I haven't even been done once, so but I'm a skeptic, so he probably he's like, yeah, you're on my side, whatever. I don't care. Who are you? Why should I care about you? Well, I'm Deconverted Man. I'm awesome. That's why. Come on, notice me, senpai. Dang it. No, I have to make some ludicrous claim to get on this show. I wouldn't do that. Well, I guess. Well, I'm like, well, maybe I would. But at any rate, okay. So why change this belief? I'm still gonna
change my worldview.
Yes. Why change my worldview? Or belief, or whatever, however you want to put that? Because I'm still gonna have the same problems. In fact, I'm gonna have more problems.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I would ask about that is, does it make it am I choosing to remain for this desire rather than the truth? If I found out X was true, and I said, well, yeah, that's or X is more likely, I think you would put it to be. You said in the email that if it was like 70-30 in favor of atheism or something like that, although I don't like percentages in that way, but regardless, like if it was more likely that it was true, that you'd still stick because you still have this thing. So it's like, I'm comfortable what I hear, and you can tell me I'm wrong, but I'm comfortable believing what I believe. Leave me alone. I don't need to look. That's too much to take on. That's too much of a burden to bear. I can't deal with that. I'm happy where I am. Is that an unfair painting?
I can't remember exactly what I said. Do you have the email? Because
yeah. So
I do remember saying something about that, but I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, no, sure. I mean, because I wasn't trying to quote verbatim or anything, but yeah.
Sure. And I can't even remember, and I'm the one who said it. So.
Okay, so precisely you said, even if the evidence was 70-30 in favor of atheism, which you didn't see it as being, that still means as an atheist, you'd have to face the problem of unanswered questions. And that's when faith would be required.
Mm-hmm, right.
So what I hear that as is, I'm happy where I am, and I don't want to change because I'd have to have more faith. I'd have to do this or that. And I don't want to do that. I'm happy where I'm at. Leave me be. I'm good. I've got the answers. Even if they're wrong, I don't care. I'm happy with believing that they're right. But that seems very unfair to paint you in that way. But I'm being honest with you. That's how I kind of see it in that way. And I don't want to paint you that way because I don't think that is fair. So help me unpackage this a bit more. Show me that I'm wrong in this. That you're not just saying, well, it's too much to deal with. That there's like, it's like a fear, or it's like, I don't want, even if it's true, I'm not going to go over because it's just too much. I'd have to learn all this stuff, or I'd have to, and it's like, well, yeah.
Well, okay. If it's,
but it's true. So do you value truth less than comfortableness, or what's being,
if I came to the realization that atheism is true and theism is false, then we're no longer talking about a 7-30 split. We're 100 and 0. And at that point, I may have to reevaluate my worldview at that point. But as long as there's something on the other side of the ledger, again, there's at least something to work with. And I think, as we said earlier, that it's not necessarily the quantity of questions that are answered, but the quality of those questions. I mean, are they really big questions that philosophers wrestle with, rather than the little tangential stuff over here?
But Robert, idiots, what does it matter if if it's true or more true or plausibly more true? Isn't the truth more important than whatever I have to face about that truth?
Absolutely. Yeah, sure.
So what if faith is still required? I don't see it that way, but so what? If it's true, it's true. So why, you said, why should I change? And I say, why shouldn't you? Because if it's true, it's true. And that's what should,
but we haven't determined. But we haven't determined that it's true.
You haven't determined. Sure. I mean, but you that's not, you asked it in a different way, and that's what I'm trying to ravel out with you. Maybe you'll be more sophisticated in this sort of questioning, thinking, whatever.
Okay, let me try to restate.
Okay.
Well, I don't know how much I can restate it.
Sure.
If I came to find out that, after all my investigation and all my research, and all right, I came to find out or realize that there's only 30% of a reason to believe in Christianity, and there's 70% reasons to believe in atheism. Okay, we're still talking about 30%. All right, now I have to ask myself, of the 30% of the reasons that I have to believe in Christianity, are they, how weighty of issues are they? Because if those are the issues that either make or break a worldview in terms of its truth or falseness, or whatever the word would be, then that's fine. I will stick with the 30%, because that 30%, although it's not equal to 70%, still, in terms of the quality of the questions that are being answered, I still think I'm in a better position with that 30%. Does that make any sense? Or should I rephrase it?
Well, I mean, I think you're saying the same thing. I still see that, me personally, and as I'm happy with what I believe, and I don't want to change it, because this answers the questions I needed to answer. So I'm not going to.
Well, not the questions I needed to answer, but the questions that I see philosophers wrestling.
Well, who cares about them?
Well, now you sound like Aaron Ra.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like, well, who cares what other people can or can't answer? Because it is about me in the end, in a way, because this is my journey. This isn't their journey. This is my journey.
Yeah, but I rely on the philosophers, to, I guess, to a certain degree, at least in part, to inform me about what the big issues really are. And
but
I don't know. Maybe
what are they now?
And it could be that even reasoning on my own, I come to the same conclusions that they do.
Yeah,
so I don't want to rule myself out.
Because in the end, it's like, okay, they think that this is a big question. Well, who cares? What do I think is a big question?
Yeah.
And maybe I agree. Okay, I agree. This is a big question. Okay, so if I switch and that question's still unresolved, then that's bad. So I'm not going to switch. Even at, at what percent am I going to finally switch? Because you already remember at the start, you said, we're going to do whatever to rescue our worldview. And man, it seems like to me, if you were at this, and we're speaking hypothetically to be fair, but still, if we were at this place of 70-30, man, you're throwing out everything to rescue this worldview at this point. At what point does it become
99-1 would be throwing out?
Well, but see, that's what I'm saying. It's like, at what point does it become not worth rescuing anymore?
Yeah, well, that's
word.
That's a man. I don't know.
Maybe it's not even that. Maybe it's just 50-50. Maybe it's not even that. Maybe what if it was 1% that I could be wrong? Would it be worth throwing it out then? I think I might, or at least, be a consideration, but at any rate, I think unless there's more you want to say about that, I think that
no, not really more I want to say. Just if I can take one more shot at it, because sure. I want your listeners to understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I do too. I want to understand what you're saying, and I want them to. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, if after I've I've done all my research, and I've asked all the questions, and I've come to the realization, or at least to the conclusion, and it could be a false conclusion, but I've come to the conclusion that it seems like 70% of all the weight is on the side of atheism, and only about 30% would seem to comport with theism. What I'm saying is, either way, I'm still going to be left with questions. And so, yes, my worldview, I'm happy with my worldview, so I'm going to stick with it because it's just not worth, gaining 70% of the answers. I can live with 30% because I'm comfortable. I'm happy with my worldview. Now, as I said, where do you draw the line? What if it's 2080? What if it's 1090?
Yeah.
What if it's 199?
Yeah, of course,
that's the question.
Yeah, these percentages, of course, are completely abstract. They don't really bind to anything. It's just kind of
I guess the reason I said 70-30 is because once you get beyond that, then I'm going to start questioning.
Yeah, okay.
So I guess so I'm cutting it off at 30.
We gotta ship it away until you're down to 29%, and then we've got you on our side.
There you go.
Yeah. Whatever that means. But yeah, that's why I don't like putting numbers, because I mean, like I said, they're abstract. They don't really, there's not really 100% and all this. It's just kind of like, it's like the pain thing at the hospital, although it's weird because they're supposed to ask it twice and they never do. But they're supposed to ask you, well, how much is the pain now? It's 10. Okay, how much is it after the treatment? It's 1. So that it's like, but they only like, well, how much is it? So it's 10. Can you hurry up? Because it's really hurting. 10. It's always 10. And, and then they're done.
Yeah,
like, you didn't ask me again. What was the point of asking me? What's the point? Next time I'm going to just say, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the number is, does it? Because you're not using that data for anything. I'm going to say, I don't know. I'm going to say, I'm not answering the question until you tell me why you need this data, because you're not using it properly. And then I'm going to be this whole thing, and they're going to hate me, and I'm going to get charged more for it. But I'm going to do it.
That's
sorry, I went off into a tangent. I'm back. Okay, so my brain. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm back. Okay, so to loop back around to what you'd said with number 2, I wanted to point this out to you and see what you made of it. Is that you think that faith will be required to answer these questions, or however you want to say that, right? And that, well, if I became an atheist, you're assuming that you would still have the same view, that these problems would still be problems. Maybe you might not see them as problems anymore as soon as, Well, so you're kind of predicting what your future self will be like.
What I'm saying, okay, let's say I changed my worldview and I became an atheism. Well, I became an atheist. Okay, well, I don't have to deal with the contradictions in the Bible anymore.
Yeah,
I don't believe in the Bible.
Right.
Okay, so those would be some of the questions that I can get rid of.
Right.
Now I have this pesky question of where did this information in DNA come from? Because
you might not care anymore.
Oh, well,
that's what I'm saying.
I would care.
But you don't know. Maybe. Well, I mean,
knowing myself, I would.
Well, yeah, but you might change. Who knows? I mean, because it would be. It's a world-changing event, at least in your brain, at any rate. So it's kind of hard to predict in a way. It's like, well,
yeah, maybe
you'd be a different sort of person, and
that's possible.
And there's cookies.
I can't change my worldview.
Yeah, but you can't. Yeah, right. No, I'm not saying no. But of course, this is all hypotheticals and whatnot. But we're trying to get at the root of this. So, and gotta ban another person. Yeah, no, nothing. People are trying to be trolls, and I'm just gonna block them. Anyways, so don't worry about it. Okay, so I have a few questions were posited towards you during during our lovely chat here. I want to go through those and throw those at you.
What? I'm sorry.
There was a few questions asked to you.
By people that are listening to us?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Yes. Let's see. Let me find the... Okay. So, do you think the fall was a just? I suppose. I think he means a fair or justice. Do you think the fall was a just story? Wouldn't Eve need free will to answer the serpent? So, do you think it was a fair thing? What do you think about this story? Is I guess
Eve did have free will. Absolutely.
Okay. Do you think it's a just, there's justice in this story? Do you think that it's fair what happened?
Certainly. Why not?
Okay.
God said, don't do this. God said, look, talk about 70-30. God said 99 to 1. I'm giving you all these 99 trees. You can eat them whatever you want. Just this one tree. I'm asking you because I'm God and you're not, and you wouldn't be even listening to me if I didn't create you. So, I can do whatever I want because I am God. And I'm saying, look, just don't eat of this tree and you can live in paradise forever. Okay. Just don't eat of this tree.
He expanded the question here. Okay. He said, okay, wouldn't Eve need the knowledge of good and evil to answer the serpent? She didn't have this.
No. Yeah, I understand what he's asking.
Okay.
The answer to his question is, of course, Eve knew good from evil. She knew that. Now I'm searching for the a priori, because God told her what was good and what was evil. What she gained by eating of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil is self-autonomy. Now she says, God, I don't need you to tell me what's good and evil. I can figure those things out by myself. So if you tell me, certain, sexual behavior is wrong, I don't need you to tell me that. I can figure that all by myself. And I say, there's nothing wrong with that behavior. That's the new relationship that Adam and Eve entered into after eating the fruit. The autonomy to decide for themselves what is good and what is evil. And that's what's meant by the knowledge of good and evil.
Okay. Not sure I follow completely, but
okay. I want to
because it's like, well, I guess the question assumes that like the knowledge of good and evil, this means they didn't know what good and evil were before they did this, and then they did, right?
Yes, and I said they knew what the difference between good and evil was. They knew that a priori because God told them what was good and what was evil. So they knew good from evil.
I see. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Do you think that Catholics are real Christians?
Yeah. Wow. I believe a lot of Catholics are Christians despite their Catholicism. I believe the vast majority of Catholics, as well as Protestants, are not Christians at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Could you give an example of an unanswered question that you think that there is? I think you mentioned it, but
on which side?
Either side, I suppose, if you will. But
I think you did. But an unanswered question from the theist side was, if I were to change my worldview to atheism, all right, well, I don't have to deal with Bible contradictions anymore. That's a load off my plate right there.
I think that you had mentioned you didn't know what happened to babies that died.
Yeah.
For example.
Yeah.
Like in theology, there wasn't a clear answer as far as you could tell.
Yeah.
And whereas I'm like, they're dead.
They're dead, right?
There's nothing that happens.
Right. So that would be one. That would be a question right there.
Okay, but then you have a new question of like, but what the belief is what does it mean? What does this other thing mean? Or you think I think you said earlier information. Like you think that would be where does information? How does that work, or something like that? Right?
Yeah. Because I mean, origin of life research has been taking place for the past 70 years, approximately, maybe a little bit more. I know the information in DNA was discovered back in the 50s, I believe. And origin of life research has gone no place in the past 70 years. And I know your listeners are like, what are you talking about? They created an RNA strand. Okay. Listen carefully.
Mm-hmm.
The question isn't, can they create RNA? The question is, have they been able to show how RNA could be created with zero intelligent imposition into the experiment to set it off and to bring it to a favorable result? And the answer is no, they have not. And that is an indisputable fact. Now, going further, how about the RNA that they have created?
Yeah. Okay. So let it be that you think is an unanswered question, and we'll leave it at that. So those would be example of unanswered questions. Okay. Because I don't want. Yeah. Because I got it. It's like we got it. Okay. Okay. So I think.
We got you, Rob. All right.
We got you. No,
we hear you.
Moving on. Come on. How old is the Earth according to Robert? Does he not believe? Well, that's bulkily asked. I hate that. Does he believe in evolution, modern genetics, geology, paleontology, biochemistry, and cosmology? So now we talked about this. So how old do you think the Earth is? And or do you have?
Wait, what happened to the question?
Oh, sorry. I'll leave it up. There you go. Sorry. My bad. I was like, I'm done with the question. I'm done with the question. I don't need the question anymore. There we go. Okay. How old do you think the Earth is? Or do we?
Yeah. I don't know. I lean towards a young Earth, 6,000 years, but I could be wrong. It could be older than that, and I have reasons for thinking that.
Okay. Well, I just want to cover real quick. 6,000. Yeah. Does this coming because the Bible? Like,
well, not only the Bible. I mean, why is there C14 in diamonds? If the half-life of C14
no. Well, I'm saying that the calculation of 6,000 isn't correct even according to the Bible. If you
okay. Well, all right. Because whatever the Bible would come out with, I haven't done the math on that.
No, yeah. If you did, if we assume that Adam lived as long as he did in the Bible. I did a video on this a while back. I started adding up the numbers of all the ages of everybody listed because it gives their ages of when they died.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets beyond 6,000. So I stopped. I said, well, there you go. It's not 6,000. So you can't just round it down and be happy with that. That's not, you're not being honest. So you have to keep adding. And I stopped adding. So you got to show the math, and if you're not doing that, then what are you doing? I mean,
I will leave it to the Bible scholars that want to do the math. And
you can do it.
An accurate figure as to how old the Earth is.
No, but you could do it. Why can't you do it?
Because I don't feel like it.
Well, but that's not.
I got more important things to do. Talking to you, number one.
Yeah, well, I mean, I did a lot of the math. I did a lot of the math for you. It was more than 6,000, but I don't want you to just take my word for it. Reading rainbow,
whatever the age of a young Earth would be. Fine.
Right.
I would say again, I lean towards that figure, but it could be an older Earth. I don't know. Now, he also, I believe in evolution? Do I believe in evolution? I believe there could. Okay, that all depends. If it's an old Earth, then there could be biological evolution. Okay, if it's a young Earth, obviously there couldn't be. So, and then he says modern genetics. I can't answer. Sure, I believe in modern genetics. What specifically about modern genetics are you asking? So I would have to know that. Geology. Well, of course I believe in geology. I don't necessarily, let's put it this way. There are geologists on the young Earth side of the question that will say, everything that the old Earth geologists are saying took billions of years don't actually need billions of years. These things can happen within days, within hours. So yes, I do believe in geology. I just don't know which side has the correct answer. But I lean towards the creationist side. Okay. Paleontology. Again, it all depends. It all depends. I know we found fresh soft tissue in a T-Rex fossil. So that tells me that there was a T-Rex around pretty recently, in terms of the age of the universe goes. Do I believe in biochemistry? Well, I guess what I deny and what I categorically deny is that there is any evidence that chemical evolution or no, wait a minute, what word am I looking for? Okay, yeah, there's biological evolution. Yeah, chemical evolution. I don't believe there's 1 ounce. There's as much evidence for the flying spaghetti monster as there is that abiogenesis could have occurred. Chemical evolution. I believe the evidence for both is exactly the same, and that is 0. Cosmology. Again, I believe in Big Bang cosmology.
Okay. Yeah. So that, that was a lot of, it's a whole, the whole thing. Okay. So, I'm going to give people in chat, a couple more minutes to suss out, one question to ask, not 5, Jerry.
Well, thanks for the question, Jerry.
But well, to be fair, what questions might you have for this jaded skeptic that if any? Or what things do you want to throw at me?
At you?
Yeah, and then we'll wrap up because it's been an hour. So, but yeah, go ahead, ask me all the things that I don't know the answers to. Yeah, or whatever you want to do. Jerry,
why do they call grape nuts grape nuts?
I'm glad you brought this up.
They're not grape nuts.
This is the way to end the stream. Yes. Okay, now let me get started. Okay, first of all, they're not grapes. They're not nuts. I don't know what they are. I don't know I know that they're crunchy. They hurt. Right. They hurt to eat. They hurt my teeth.
They're nut-like, I suppose.
They hurt my teeth when I eat them.
Right.
But I still ate them when I haven't eaten them in a while, but I ate them when I remember eating them because, man, you don't forget eating. It's like you don't accidentally eat these things. You know that it's like crunch. It's like, why am I eating this? It hurts. And then you just put sugar on it. You might as well just eat sugar because the whole dang bowl is like half sugar, and you're like, now I can eat it. Well, yeah, you can eat anything that you put enough sugar on it, But yeah, it's like, why am I eating? I don't know. Why do they sell this? It's like a trick. It's like, will people buy this? I don't know. Let's find out. We'll just lie and make it a thing like you don't want to eat it, but they'll eat it anyways. They'll keep eating it, even though it hurts their teeth. They eat it. It makes no sense.
Because they'll keep coming back to the question of why it's called grape nuts.
Grape nuts is proof that there's no God. That's the only answer.
You know what? It might be. I'm going to have to reconsider. Yes. We have now reached 99.
Or it's proof that God exists, but God is completely insane because he allowed us, mere mortals. You know what? It wasn't us. We couldn't have made grape nuts. We're not smart enough to make this damn thing. And a crazy God made grape nuts. That's the only...
Right. Okay. They're my options. So I'm going to have to weigh those very carefully.
Oh, that's a great way to end this. That is terrific. I love that because, by the way, of course, people are like, what the hell? What is this about? Well, yeah, it's an inside joke. Okay. Like I brought up grape nuts when we were talking. I don't know. Or he did. I don't know. And then I just went off about how grape nuts, I don't know how it be. You know what? I don't know which one of us brought it up. So I'm going to say it's your fault. Anyway.
I think we were talking about Christian Science.
Yeah, Christian Science is neither Christianity nor is it science.
Exactly.
And then it's like grape nuts. It's like, oh, yeah. It's like military intelligence. These things don't go together. Yeah, there's another one. Yeah. What else is another one? I don't know. I can't think. What is it called? The dang thing. What the hell is the term for it? I can't think of it. The term.
The term for what?
The term for the thing that we're talking about.
Grape nuts?
No. The two things that don't go together. Military.
Christian science. Military intelligence
Is an example. Oxymoron. There it is. Thank you.
Oxymoron.
There it is. I was like, what the hell is the name? It's oxymoron, which is neither an oxy
or a moron.
No, no. Escape prisoner. Right. Okay, I got it. It's things that are right. Yeah. Okay. I'm done. That was a wonderful.
Yeah, I think we're done.
Yeah, I think we're done. We're done. We solved
pretty much done.
We fixed the universe with
Exactly.
Grape Nuts. Okay.
Exactly.
All right. Now you do have a YouTube channel, but you haven't given me yet. And if you don't give it to me, then I can't link it, so nobody can go bug you on it. So you will.
Chat host.
You can try. I don't know that it will work. I mean, just email it to me, okay? And I'll put it on this thing when it's a thing, okay? If you don't remember to email it to me, then I can't put it on the thing. So if you look later and it's not on the thing, it's because you didn't email me in it. And if you don't look later and you forgot, then I'll forget, and it won't be a thing. Okay, everybody, thank you for joining us. And thank you, Robert, for your time, energy, and ability to have a nice civil conversation about this. Because it was a thing. It was a thing we did.
It was a thing. It was definitely a thing.
It was interesting, and
it was a good thing.
And hopefully, we'll think about things and learn and grow and get better and be good and do stuff and all the things.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody. Thanks, Robert. We'll plug I'll plug all your things when I can, and unless and until we have a valid and sound argument, we should be skeptical of conclusions. That's the thing I normally say. I'll let you say a thing, and then I'll hit the button. So say a thing before I hit the button. Gonna hit the button.
I'm just still trying to figure out the grape nuts things.
Okay, that's how we're gonna end. All right, say grape nuts. Grape nuts. All right. No, wait. Grape nuts. Okay. Grape nuts. One more time.
Oh, can I? Are we still on?
No. Say grape nuts one last time, then I'll hit the button.
Grape nuts?
Yeah.